Hello, good morning. It's morning here in the Northeast, and I've been watching the morning shows, Morning Joe, CNN with Bob Lemon, some Fox at 5 or Fox News. I watch all the shows. I get different perspectives, and I pick up what I need to know through all media, even records like Bruce Springsteen said. I think he may have wrote this song with Stevie Van Zandt, or Stevie Van Zandt was singing with him. I learned more from a 3-minute record than I ever did in school. But anyway, I'm regressing. But I've watched all the news shows. Everything last couple of weeks, maybe last month, is a Representative George Santos from New York, I believe Long Island or in New York State. And plus, I want to say something about last night's Grammys. I thought they did a great job with the production. I must admit, I'm not familiar with a lot of the new artists, but the 50th anniversary hip hop medley that was on for maybe 15, 20 minutes, I thought was spectacular. The work that must have went into that presentation with the choreography and the music and the different stages. It blew away anything I've ever seen on the Super Bowl stage, which is one of the biggest stages, obviously in the world for music. They have so much time to prepare, and they have so much money to put into it. But this was just amazing, and I want to congratulate all the nominees and all the winners. I may do a record on the ones that I do know about, like Bonnie Raitt. Ry Cooder won, which was one of my all-time old school favorites. Ry Cooder, slide guitar, played with Taj Mahal, had the first digital album, Bop Till You Drop. I believe that may have been Warner, but that was the first digital album, commercial rock album, as far as I know. But I want to do something, getting back to George Santos. I was thinking, what would be George Santos's music repertoire? What would he actually have in his house? What would he listen to on his on his beats, or what would he stream? What would be on his record shelf? And I picked out a few records that I thought, based on the personality, based on what we all learned, or have not learned yet about Mr. Santos. I'm just going to have a little fun with some things that I think he may have collected over the years, because I have those. And I wish him all the best. I hope he gets everything straightened out. I hope he gets his life in order, and I just wish him the best. But this is the first one I pulled, and I have about 20 albums here. I'm going to go over them with you really fast. We're not going to show labels. We're just going to show the album names, the covers. And then I have one that's sitting on top of the old 1940s black and white, an audiophile sounding OG press. And I'm going to go over that with you at the end, as I usually do. I know I keep on saying this, but if you can subscribe, I know sometimes you have to be a member of YouTube to subscribe, but if you can, we appreciate it, because we're going to do these every day, and I'm going to have some cool stuff coming up. I've got some great ideas, some great comments from people that leave comments, and friends that watch the videos. Okay, the first one is a Hickory, so early Donovan, the real Donovan. Okay, and on the back it has, Remember the Alamo, Ramblin' Boy, the Josie, To Try for the Sun, and has some photos. And this is one I think George may have. Here's another one, Aerosmith, Dream On. And we all know that song, Dream On, Aerosmith. I think George has that. This is one I definitely think, I know he likes show tunes and spectacular venues that have a lot of glitz, a lot of costumes and bright colors. I from what I hear in some of his interviews, he's been all over the world. Mardi Gras, in Brazil when they have the big parades, New York City's parade. So I thought maybe Circus Spectacular, okay, and we could see here Circus Spectacular, okay. So this is a great gatefold. Has a booklet in it, and you know. And this one, I thought I would think he would like Dylan, and I thought this Dylan would be cool because it's self-portrait, and we know that's a Dylan self-portrait. It looks nothing like Dylan, so maybe George has this. This is an old one I pulled. This was from a record station collection, so that's this one. This was in there. I'm not sure. This was in this collection. I'm not sure why, but this is everyone's collection. All you vinyl community people have seen this one. This is cool because it still has the original $2.99 sticker. This is a good one. It's not too many people have this, but I'm sure George has this. It's a sealed copy. Beware of Greeks bearing gifts, and it's from I believe a show, and that's it. Beware of Greeks bearing gifts. Okay. Now here's one where the group would actually pretend that there's someone else. Okay, and so I thought George would have this one, and that's Magical Mystery Tour with the Beatles, and they were actually pretending they were this bizarre psychedelic type of group, nursery rhyme, stories, Alice in Wonderland, and that's it. And this is the original OG press of this. This sounds great. Also, the Beatles also pretended they were a different band, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and we all know the story behind that. Paul was on an airplane going to or from maybe in '66 when they were touring, and he thought of how could we do something fresh and not be ourselves but pretend we're someone else. And that sounds like something George Santos would want. Here's another one. This is John Lennon, and I think George would want Mind Games in his collection. George would want this, John Lennon's Mind Games, classic. And here's one that I think George is into all types of music, blues, rock. I think he was also in a few bands, some pretty famous bands. And that's, so we have rhythm and blues. I want us to do soul. And I think he would have this one, The Temptations, Puzzle People. And this is a good one because it has I Can't Get Next to You on here. And Since I Lost You, It's Your Thing. And Don't Let the Joneses Get You Down. That's the Temps, right? It's a classic. Here, I think George would want to have at least one Village People in his collection. And this is Live and Sleazy. And you could see, the guys are having a good time. This is a concert album. This is very good. Has all their hits. Hot Cop, In the Navy, YMCA. Pretty good stuff. And here's another one. I think he's into British rock, British classic rock, and that would be Who's Next? This is another classic by The Who, classic album. And, this has Bargain, Going Mobile, Behind Blue Eyes, Won't Get Fooled Again. So this has some songs that George, who knows, maybe George wrote some of these. Here we have a nice Stones record, not your typical Stones record like Some Girls or where they're, having fun with different people. But this one's Metamorphosis. This is a compilation of B-sides, outtakes. This is a pretty cool record. This is on APCO, and that's the cover. And you can see they're changing. They're all changing, like our friend George constantly changes. Here's another one, which unfortunately he had to have his collection. No slate on George, but I think he would want some John Cougar, and I think he would want American Fool. American Fool by John Cougar. It's a great album, and this is a classic. This all these records on Polygram, John Cougar Mellencamp. They all sound really well. They're really good. Here's another one too. It's another British artist, and we're going to show some of his group's records. But here's Phil Collins. But seriously, George. But seriously, that's Phil Collins. This has a great one in here. And this also has Hanging Long Enough. Let me see. Do You Remember? And I don't know this album, but have all of his solo albums. Here's another one. I know George likes to get out and party. I've seen some photos of he's partying. So I think he would be into disco. So here we have A Dance Fantasy. Okay. This is a classic disco record from probably the 80s. And this is a dance fantasy inspired by Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And this has some great stuff. It also has Fly Me to the Moon, in other words, Warp Factor. So it has a lot of the, I think the theme is outer space and fantasy. And that's A Dance Fantasy. Here we have a whole album of people who should not be singing these songs, who don't belong in this world. And here we have Golden Throats. We have Proud Mary, sung by Leonard Nimoy. Blowing in the Wind by Eddie Albert of Green Acres. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, William Shatner. Twist and Shout, Mae West. House of the Rising Sun, Andy Griffith. You Are the Sunshine of My Life, Jim Nabors. Sebastian Cabot does Like a Rolling Stone. Nimoy does If I Had a Hammer. And of course, Mr. Tambourine Man by William Shatner, Captain Kirk. And you can see it's a copy. It's similar to the Sgt. Pepper record. Here we have another one by Raza, and that's this one. Everything You See Is Me. And, George has been telling us that. No comment. Everything You See Is Me. Raza, a great jazz psychedelia band album. I would pick this up. And here we have it's like a super group, and a super group without any publicity, and that's a rare one. The Masked Marauders, and there's a bunch of people on here, namely Dylan and Mick Jagger. It's the Masked Marauders. I would think George, this is a pricey album. I would think George would have found this when he's visiting New York, in the city, in the Village, great used record stores. I think George would have picked up the Masked Marauders. Here's another one that I think George would like and would have in his collection, just for the title of the band, and that's The Stories. George is a great storyteller. So The Stories, okay. Here we have one that is classic. I pulled this one out. Let me see. And that has a song, That's No Way to Spend Your Youth. George had a pretty varied youth, and it's the Clash, Give Him Enough Rope, I believe. Give him enough rope. And if we give him enough rope, you know what happens. So here's another classic from the 50s. It's an audiophile sounding album as well. And that's Frank Sinatra's Point of No Return. And maybe George has this one in his collection. Maybe that's what he'll be listening to in the months to come. This is a classic. I believe this is his last record for Capitol. And it's not seen too often, but I'm not sure if it's reissued, but this is an OG. Here's a good one, David Bromberg. Big John, my collaborator on a lot of these videos, my brother-in-law. Big John's a good guy. He loves David Bromberg, so we picked up Demon in Disguise. Demon in Disguise. Okay. And this has the song. It also has Mr. Bojangles, hardworking John. So it's a pretty cool demon in disguise. Here's another one. I know George loves the fame, the publicity. Um, this little story that George has been telling us through the campaign and through his election win is David Bowie, and that's fame and fashion. So he loves the fame. And this has changes, young Americans, golden years, fashion, and ashes to ashes. So I'm thinking George has this or some similar Bowies. This is an import. You don't see this too often. Here I have a Richie Havens. I know he likes folk, and I would think he would have Richie Havens, Something Else Again by Richie Havens. And Richie does here, it's a good one. No opportunity necessary, no experience needed. So, and Maggie's Farm. Ain't going to work on Maggie's Farm no more. Bob Dylan. That's Something Else Again. Here we have a good one that I know it's in every audiophile's collection, even the represses. This is an original. Fleetwood Mac, Rumors, sold zillions of copies. And that's Fleetwood Mac, Rumors. Okay, so George would probably want Rumors. Here's another one. I have a couple of these different covers, and that's Foreigner, Double Vision. Okay, Double Vision by Foreigner. And here we have Hot Blooded, Double Visions on the sticker. Here we have a different cover, Double Vision. So George likes his, how should I put it? George likes to keep his collection with some rare ones. And this is I think this is the rare one, Double Vision. And also we have Foreigner, another Foreigner, Head Games. Head Games, you all know that, okay? This has Head Games, I'll Get Even With You, Do What You Like, Dirty White Boy, Love on the Telephone, Blinded by Science. This is a great Foreigner, Head Games. And he also, like I said, he also likes rhythm and blues. And this band is from Teaneck, New Jersey, not too far from George's constituents. And that's the Ozzy Brothers, winner take all. And George said he won, so he won. He's going to stick around. Winner take all. The Isleys. This is a great one. It's a gatefold, and you can see that there. And here we're getting back to Phil Collins. I mentioned Phil Collins, and this is his band Genesis, and that's a Trick of the Tail. That's another Trick of the Tail, and Big John's a big Genesis fan as well. This is an OG. Here's another one, some great soul. It's a classic album. It was recently picked as #1 of the 500 albums of all time by Rolling Stone magazine, and that's Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On." And here we have the label. This is an OG, and so everyone's saying, "George, what's going on?" George says, "No comment. Nothing's going on. Everything's cool." And this is an too. I thought he would have some female singers in there, so I picked Julie Is Her Name. We're not sure if that's really her name, but I think this is Julie London, and Julie is her name. But is Julie her name? We don't know. And this has on it "Gone with the Wind," "Say It Isn't So," "It Never Entered My Mind." And this is Cry Me a River on here too. It's all classics, great one. And here we have a record, an Elvis Costello record, Elvis Costello and the Imposters, a later album, later for me, but it's maybe 20 years old already. Momofuku. It's a great album. This was given to me by Big John, I believe, years ago. I don't know it too well, but it's a great sounding record. And here's another one that I think George would have. After all this, this brouhaha of what's happening with George and what's happening in Washington, and that's Alice Cooper. "Welcome to My Nightmare." Welcome to my nightmare. We're watching a nightmare unfold live on TV. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Morning Joe, all these news. Like I said, I watch all those shows. I watch them all. And that's this one here. And then we have the last one, and I picked it because of the song that's on one of the main songs on this, and that's a Combat Rock. Okay, and that's The Clash. This is mixed by Glenn Johns. I'm not sure if he recorded it, if he was engineer, but this has the classic song. We're all asking. George is asking. George has been asked, and he's probably asking himself, should I stay or should I go? That's right there, the third track. Should I stay or should I go? So I believe George would have this in his collection. So I'm going to pick now the next part of this video, and that's the audiophile sounding OG record, and that's up here, but like I said, by the TV. And it's also a record George would have, not for the audiophile sound. I'm not sure if George is an audiophile. I know he loves music, but that's the Who. Who are you? Who are you? Okay, and this is an OG copy. It has the sticker on it. It was $5.99 when I bought it. It has a shrink and the sticker. And Who Are You by The Who. And this record sounds phenomenal. It's the last record, studio album that Keith Moon recorded with the band. He soon passed right after this, and it's kind of ironic. But it also has a chair that George may have, somewhere in his home or in the Senate or in Congress, not to be taken away. So I think this is the one album that George would have. We're just having a little fun with George. Like I said, I wish him all the best. I hope you enjoyed this video. I just want to have a little fun. And something came to me. I need to get something that would resonate with some of our viewers. And the reality of it, every one of these albums that I chose are classic records. They're all in my collection. They're classics. I would recommend every one of these records for you to own. But the thing is, George has these. He must have a few others. There's so many that I think George would have. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, if you can, if you're able to subscribe or share this with your friends. And I hope, like I said, I wish George all the best, and I wish our country all the best. And stay safe, keep rocking, and Tony's LP signing out. Ciao. Thank you.